From 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we take you inside another branch, another agency of the federal government. And in today's show, we're going to take you inside the Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA as it's called. We're just going to let everyone filter in for a minute. Every single week, exposing another individual from the administrative state, the deep state. This episode, we take you on the inside of CISA. Headline, Trump was right, says Trevor Kolodny, cybersecurity infrastructure security analyst, CISA official in the Department of Homeland Security for Chemical Security. He actually met with me. Again, we have one of these officials meeting with me. They just don't recognize me, I guess. Kolodny, who declares, quote, I don't think I can vote for Donald Trump after January 6th, worked in the Alcohol, Tobacco, Tax, and Trade Bureau for the U.S. Department of the Treasury prior to CISA, and despite not being a Trump fan, he says, quote, Trump was deeply interested in trade and Biden doesn't care about trade. This is one of the videos from the American Swiper program. I can tell you that there are many undercover individuals currently meeting with various people in Washington. OMG basically has a Washington bureau set up right now. And we're going to take you through this video like we always do. It's a 20-minute long video. I'm going to show you some of the best clips. Then we're going to go to the audience reaction. So if you're in this space, if you're on X, and you want to comment or talk about this video or anything OMG is doing, we're going to go to you. And then we're going to call this man for comment. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to need a phone team to do that because my phone is currently, Spaces is being used. So let's go ahead and go to the videotape. This is Trevor Kolodny.
Issues related to chemical terrorism.
He works on issues related to chemical terrorism.
And my agency with the security is the Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency.
Trevor Kolodny brings up the topic of CISA's central role in fighting misinformation and working with big tech. Now, CISA was known to be the organization that was coordinating with Google, Facebook, to combat mis and disinformation, and he actually acknowledges that.
You probably heard a lot about like internet censorship.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That's my agency.
So he brags about the fact that his agency is the one responsible for misinformation. Although the guy, even though he hates Trump, he seems to be a somewhat reasonable deep state individual in that he actually says Rand Paul has a point.
They've had conversations with Facebook and Google about these claims are untrue.
Some more here. Trevor shared that his current role within the federal government under the Department of Homeland Security is to handle chemical terrorism.
So I work for an agency within Homeland Security.
So this CISA is evidently a division of the Department of Homeland Security. It is truly incredible how vast our federal administrative state is. And people often think of these deep state officials as having square jaws and they're big, shadowy figures. They're often diminutive, pathetic kind of people. But this is a long video. We're going to walk you through it. And then we are going to call Trevor for comment, which is my favorite part of all these shows because it's live. And as a journalist, we should ask for comment. Of course, one might argue that his comment is what he said in the video, right? He said what he said, but he did not know that he was talking to a journalist.
That's part of Homeland Security.
So they basically regulate chemical facilities.
Really?
Yeah. So to make sure that, facilities that work with chemicals that pose a military level of risk.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Trevor Kolodny. He's talking, he has a kind of a strange way of talking. He's talking in the restaurant to me. I am recording him with a coffee cup camera. That's right, a coffee cup camera. We're going to be talking about our equipment in a minute because it's one of my favorite cameras. And he's telling me he works in the chemical division of the CISA Cybersecurity Agency. And we're going to go through this video.
Have like a concomitant level of protections in place. So that's, yeah.
So that's so you have a very it's like a matter of national security.
Is it what?
Matter of like national security.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Is it like classified?
some of it.
So some of what he does is classified. He works on matters of national security. Trevor Kolodny, senior policy analyst at CISA.
And how long have you worked there?
There for like since August.
Oh, it's August.
Right.
And that's like.
And then before that, I had been working at Treasury, which is where the alcohol stuff was. So,
Kolodny CISA official shared that his Kolodny CISA official then says Trump was right about the substance of his tweet in 2018 regarding France making it difficult for the U.S. to sell its wine in France.
Was he right?
So this is involving a tweet that Trump sent in 2018 about international trade. Trump going on a tirade about trade, and we're going to show that tweet to you in a moment. But he says Trump is right, even though he criticizes Trump about January 6th.
basically,
Was Trump right?
he was basically right.
Really?
And he would know. At the time, Trevor worked at the U.S. Department of Treasury, Alcohol and Tobacco, and worked on issues related to the international trade of beverages with Europe.
He was, yeah. I mean,
Wow. As someone who worked there.
What?
As you worked there when this happened.
Yeah, and it was cool because it was like on some level, and I mean, I'm sure it wasn't like my chain upwards, but it was like so bizarre to realize, on some level, like he's actually aware of my portfolio. He's like tweet storming it right now.
Trump was just tweet storming about.
Right. I mean,
So this is to talk about how Trump does these tweet storms and how annoying it is. And this CISA official, he worked in the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau for the U.S. Department of Treasury. He's referring to a series of tweets that Trump made during his presidency on November 13th. Team, if we could get that Trump tweet. I don't know if we can get, at the time it was Twitter, if we can get it in the queue here so the audience could see it. Can we get that in? Okay, it's on the screen for those of you watching. This is the Trump tweet. And this is the tweet that Trump made during his presidency about European countries like France putting higher tariffs on their products and causing unfair trade imbalances in the United States. So this guy, Trevor Kolodny, was working for the U.S. Department of Treasury on the issues related to international beverages and wine. And Kolodny, who's this deep state guy, federal official, is actually praising Trump as, quote, deeply interested in trade and, quote, good at negotiating trade agreements, while, quote, the current president, Biden, doesn't really care about trade and is not interested in international relations. It's also like we're going to have Patel. Do we have the video of Cash in there where he says, because I interviewed Cash about this, and he says, yeah, all these deep state guys actually like Trump's policies. It's one of the more interesting aspects of the video. Again, Trump is right. France making it difficult for the U.S. to sell its wine in France.
Was he right?
basically,
Was Trump right?
he was basically right.
Really?
And he would know. So this is more of this video. Trevor Kolodny makes no bones about his dislike for Trump.
I am a registered Republican.
And this kind of boosts his credibility here because, it's not like this guy loves Trump. He actually despises Trump. He actually both despises Trump and Biden, he says. But he talks about this January 6th stuff.
I think Donald Trump after January 6th. His people have this delusional whatever.
His people are delusional. Another congressional report, the weaponization of disinformation, indicated that my name was listed as one of the accounts being targeted by CISA. Now, CISA also targeted, these are all the names that CISA targeted President Trump, Tom Tillis, Newt Gingrich, Mike Huckabee, Thomas Massey, Babylon B, Sean Hannity, Molly Hemingway, Harmeet Dillon, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Jack Pacific, Tom Fitton, and myself. This is the information. This is the agency that did all the targeting. Ron Paul has been extremely critical of CISA. I actually reached out to Ron Paul, hoped to have him on to talk about this. He said, quote, federal courts have ordered CISA to stop, but the trust CISA has abused cannot be restored until the agency gives a full accounting of what it has done. And what's also interesting is Trevor Kolodny actually talks about Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul, who Rand Paul is like basically the number one thorn in the side of this federal agency. That's not surprising. Let's see what Trevor has to say about Rand Paul.
There's one senator who really does not like, not so much my agency, but the broader.
So it's really hard to understand him. He talks, first of all, we're in a bar. Second of all, he has a very strange manner of talking. These are not the most masculine of men, you know, should we say. I don't know if that's fair or politically correct, but I don't quite understand it. But there, he says there's one senator who really does not like my agency, but the broader cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity, prospective security agency, and he's a very powerful senator because he chairs, or he doesn't chair, but he's the ranking member, so he's the head Republican on the Homeland Security. No, not appropriate.
He's the head Republican on the Homeland Security, Senator Paul.
Homeland Security.
What's his name?
So, Rand Paul. So, Rand Paul's like, I mean, a lot of, so he's like really trying to gum up the works.
Gum up the work. What does that mean, gum up the works? I don't, is that like a phrase from the 19th century? I don't even, team, have you ever heard that before in your entire life? This guy's using some nomenclature that we're not familiar with. It's an informal phrase. It means to prevent something from working or flowing properly. Some dirt got inside the gears and gummed up the works. So this is what this guy is saying about Rand Paul, that Rand Paul is trying to get inside the gears of the federal, prevent it from working properly. But Trevor Kolodny actually adds as follows.
I imagine you're not a Rand Paul fan.
Actually, you know, I say, I imagine you're not a Rand Paul fan. He says, well, actually, and I was like, what?
It's funny, I wouldn't say I'm a fan. A lot of the times I get where he's coming from. I don't mind.
A lot of the times, the cybersecurity infrastructure policy analyst, and we should isolate this clip, and we should tweet it at Rand Paul. That's interesting. A lot of the times, I don't mind him. I get where they're coming from. Kind of a pattern of behavior where I think a lot of the people in the government are reasonable people. They're just participating in a system that doesn't really make any rational sense, but pays their bills, et cetera, et cetera. That's what we're finding in frankly, in general, and that's why it leads people to go to OMG. And you can see there on the bottom of the lower third of the video, OKeefeMediaGroup.com/swiper. Trevor Kolodny makes no bones about his dislike for Trump, says Trump supporters are delusional, and he wouldn't vote for them due to the situation on January 6th. We already went over that one, because January 6th. Investigations into the what? So this is another congressional report. I mean, this is the meat of the potatoes of it. Kolodny acknowledging CISA's collusion with big tech companies. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. We've had a conversation with Facebook, Google, about these things that aren't true. There's been a whole lot of conversations telling of a federal bureaucracy whose censorship of Americans is considered the new norm. This is a House Judiciary report titled The Weaponization of CISA, how a cybersecurity agency colluded with big tech and disinformation. And the report describes how CISA had a formal mis, dis, and malinformation MDM team. MDM. There's so many acronyms in the federal. MDM. Of course, if you add an A to that, that would be ecstasy. MDMA. MDM. Unaccompanied minors. What is that one? Unaccompanied minors. UAC. So now we're dealing with MDM, CISA, mis, dis, mal team, and submitted censorship directives through online portals to big tech companies for official corporate action. So here you have another one bites the dust. So I think what we should do now is we should call him for comment. And I cannot use my current phone because it's being used by Spaces. And I can't use the other phone because I need to log into it. So if you can log into that phone, and if we could give Trevor a call. And I think I got his phone number here. It'll be an interesting conversation if they pick up the phone. I doubt they will, but we're going to give it a shot. At this point in time, Trevor probably sees...
The service you're attempting to use has been restricted or is unavailable.
No, I misdialed. I switched the digits. I was dyslexic for a moment. Let's redo the number here. Now, oftentimes, at this moment in time, the subject sees their picture everywhere on the internet. He may not pick up the phone, but we're going to give it a shot. This is Trevor Kolodny from CISA. He might be at work.
Hello, this is Trevor Kalatner. I'm sorry that I missed your call.
That's definitely
If you
him.
Please leave a message. I will get back to you soon. Thanks.
Let's go ahead and double call here. We're going to double call. A little tip I learned in School of Hard Knocks. Always double call, sometimes triple call, to see if the official will pick up the phone. Let's get that cache footage loaded up.
Some airdrops. We'll do it again. Airdrop.
Hello, this is Trevor Kalatner. I'm sorry that I missed your call, but if you would please leave a message, I will get back to you soon. Thank you, and have a good day.
Hey, Trevor, this is James O'Keefe with O'Keefe Media Group. I'm just calling you for a comment in regards to the video recording of you speaking with me in Washington, saying that Trump was, quote, right. Trump was right, and that, quote, Biden doesn't care about trade. Trevor, you worked at the Treasury Department. Now you work with CISA, and you're commenting in this video. You know you're being recorded. That, well, Trump is deeply interested in trade, and I was hoping you would join me on the record and have a sit-down conversation where you basically reiterate what you say or you retract what you say. But if you believe in what you say, you should say it publicly and say it proudly. So I'd love to sit down on the record with you, and I would love to talk to you. So if you could please give me a call back at this number or text this number. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much, Trevor. All right, that was us calling Trevor Kolodny, the CISA official, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Agency official, for comment. And now, you want to get some audience reactions while we have some people on the line, perhaps? If you would like to comment on the story, or actually, you know who we have to comment on the story is Patel. We may have audio only for this segment, but listen to this.
Well, here's the thing about deep state officials, government gangsters in these bureaucracies. Privately, he's not the only one saying this. And whether it's tariffs or the economy or the border or national security or the forever wars overseas, the thing about these corrupt deep state government gangsters is they are that corrupt because they know what they're saying publicly is a lie. And they know what the truth is. And that's what makes them so dangerous. This individual, even though he knows the truth and has spoken to about it and to it in private, won't do what's best for America and continue to toe the party line and lie to the American public just to achieve a political narrative.
So Kash Patel, former chief of staff to the acting defense secretary Trump administration, is basically saying, what this is my comment too, it's that these deep state officials actually tend to like Trump's policies. And they also actually like Rand Paul's policies, even though Rand Paul is trying to cut their budget.
Very destructive.
Maybe it shows that more of these people agree with Trump than they're willing to say. That's my takeaway.
I think almost every single person in the deep state agrees with the policies that Donald Trump has put forth or better privately because they're not stupid, but publicly their hatred for anything Donald Trump forces them to align with a political narrative of what's the next way in which we get Donald Trump. And the end result is, you know who loses? America. The country is hurt economically, financially, national security-wise, healthcare, education, everything else, because all of these career rubes in government have been basically bought by the corrupt deep state operation, and they know their only way to advance into senior roles like this one is to toe the party line of...
And that's why we're going to have many American swipers. So we have about 5-10 minutes to get audience reaction. Let's, I guess, first go to Richard. You're muted. Go ahead, sir. Richard. If not Richard, then let's go to Solar Wing. Can you hear me? You're muted.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. What's your reaction to this latest tape?
I'm, you know, I guess I kind of come to anticipate certain, you know, these things, and it's amazing that if they have this understanding that you know, Trump's policies are better for the country, what kind of person is it that is so conflicted and yet they still follow they toe the line?
Well, why do you think that is? I mean, my guess is it's the pension, it's the need for a job, but that is interesting, isn't it?
Yes, I have a question for you, and I've really been wanting to ask this for you, and I really appreciate your work. And I've always wondered, how do you balance that line where, because these things have to come out, and I'm really appreciative, but do you ever have this sort of conflict where you kind of do some of these organizations their dirty work and exposing some people that might flip to the other side and do work in the inside? Because sometimes these people are open, not sometimes I think it's a lack of strategy on their part, right? And I totally think we should grill those people, but on some points I feel like there's some people that that are open to you, that like, oh, I wonder if that person, had he not been outed, if he would have worked in. Do you ever think about that, if you might have worked within the system?
Well, I mean, I guess I have thought about that, but you're saying that it's wrong to out them publicly. The what they're saying to the person they just met, they're sharing their views, they're saying the truth about their agency and the truth about trade policy. About who's elected president is a very important thing. Trade policy about the U.S. Treasury Department, very very important matters of public policy. And this is a employee that's talking about these matters. You're saying that it's wrong to out him for what he's saying because he could be one of the good guys.
Just as in the thought experiment, honestly, I mean, you have to out these people to take the wool off of people's eyes of what's going on, right? So I'm just, as a thought experiment, like so you said you had thought about it. I'm just curious if,
Well, I wrote
if there's any precautions, or let's just say if you come across any situations you're like, oh, okay, maybe we shouldn't out this person. Not this case though.
Well, you have to balance. I mean, I wrote a whole book about it called American Muckraker, where you have to balance the information with the, I guess you could call it harm to the individual, but I don't know where the harm is here because he's telling the truth. He's in a public place. He's speaking to someone. He it's not an invasion of privacy, not when he's talking to someone in a public place. And these are matters of extreme importance. So you have to weigh that balance, that balance of the harm done. And I think all this sort of investigative reporting does, I guess it does harm people, or maybe it harms their sense of dignity, but it's the truth because he said it.
Yes.
And it's a worthwhile thought experiment, I guess. But you're talking about someone who's these are very significant issues, trade policy, trade imbalances, and saying that Biden isn't interested in trade. He works for CISA, that's the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Agency. And he's saying that Trump is deeply interested in trade, and Trump's tweet storms are great. So, I mean, the question is, why doesn't he say it publicly? What would be wrong with him? Do you think it would damage him to say it publicly? Is that what you're saying?
If anybody, okay, so let's just say his controllers, right, see that he says these things. Okay, oh, look at, now we have somebody that thinks that these policies that likes Trump policies, so let's get rid of them.
Well, why would they want to get, I guess, why is that the case? I mean, it seems like as Cash said so eloquently here, it seems like a lot of here's Cash again.
Privately, he's not the only one saying this. And whether it's tariffs or the economy or the border or national security or the forever wars overseas, the thing about these corrupt deep state government gangsters is they are that corrupt because they know what they're saying publicly is a lie.
I mean, it seems like a lot of the people actually agree. So there's definitely an incongruence between the most of the people that work there and the policies they project. But I think that this idea of privacy is an interesting. I mean, I wrote a whole chapter about it called Privacy. I think the ability to record something is closely connected to the ability to write and speak. And I guess we're naming him, but a few of the arguments against use of a recording device seem to invoke privacy, but rather some mysterious sense of dignity. But I think we need to be having thousands of these recordings. And individuals are free to interact or not with other people as they see fit. People sitting at bars should observe the common sense notion that what they could say could easily be told repeatedly, via word of mouth. I think if we have more and more of these recordings, perhaps people will feel more comfortable to say it out loud because they know that they are not alone.
That's a good point. I like that. Can I ask you one more thing, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Thank you. Bless your heart.
Oh, bless your heart. Are you from the South?
No. I'm just.
That's like the equivalent of saying "f you" in New Jersey. So I didn't know if that was a. I didn't know if that was a curse off or a.
I'm from California, but my family roots there's some Ozarks in there somewhere. So.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, anyways, I wanted to ask, do you think it'd be possible to partner with somebody? And I don't know the lawfare or the legal premises, but like, let's say before the election to extend any information for like as an incentive for any Democrat or anybody that's working with counting the ballots and doing the election stuff, if to offer an award, and then like the premise being if they get the award if they turn in information to like an organization like yours, and you deem it to be publish worthy.
Right, like a prize if someone gets the most significant. That's something I've considered. I've found that prizes don't really work. If you create that kind of incentive, it can oftentimes people game the system, people game the prizes. But I think Charlie Kirk's doing some great work, getting people to be ballot chasers or ballot watchers, and I think OMG will definitely play a role in the election, but that is the subject for another day. And if you do want to play a role in the election, we have people who've contacted us that tell us they're on the inside, because it's just going to take one little piece of evidence that's going to deter everyone else from committing the fraud. But thank you for your question, and I appreciate the comments about privacy and journalism. Let's go back to Richard if he's still there. You can unmute yourself. Richard, can you hear me? Nope, we've lost Richard. Let's go to Robin Carter for Congress. Go ahead.
Hey, James, thanks for taking my call. And I don't want to hijack your call, but my house got raided by the FBI in 2022 over a meme, and I've got some legal issues with the FBI. I'm going to file a Section 1983 case, a Bivens case against some people. But I've also got a way to get some discovery on CISA and DHS. So for background, the election secretary in Oklahoma was going to some...
let's make it real quick, ma'am. Let's just make it real.
He came back
Robin?
to one of these conferences.
Robin?
Keep in mind, this is 2019.
Robin, can you hear me?
One of these conferences
Robin?
where DHS and CISA presented, and he lobbied the legislature in Oklahoma to change our emergency election statutes in 2019.
Robin, can you hear me? Robin, sorry, Robin. We're going to have to go on to the next person because I think this is not a time to give speeches. We're just trying to respond to the CISA video, and we're gonna try to ask a question or make a comment in 30 seconds. Richard, are you there? Can you hear me now? Richard, can you hear me? No? We have any? Well, we're waiting for some other folks to join, but in the event, I wanted to talk to you about our cameras that we use. Richard, you there?
Yes.
Go ahead. Now we have you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was using the desktop. I'm back on the mobile now. Sorry about that. Great space. Thanks for hosting. Thanks for everything that you do. I have heard a lot of people from different agencies, whether it's FBI agents on Timcast, the work that you do. Are there any agencies in the federal government that you believe don't have good Americans, patriots in them, that are completely corrupt, sort of?
Define what you mean by good.
True American patriots that want to see this country prosper, that believe in the Constitution, especially the first and the second.
Well, I mean, that's an existential question, because if someone is a good person doing the bidding of a bad organization, are they still a good person?
No, not in my opinion.
Well, then you have mostly bad people. Most people, I would say 99.99% of people, then, therefore, are not patriots.
If you could if you could name one agency that would be the worst threat or the biggest threat to America and the Americans' way of life, what would that be? Which agency would that be?
Well, I'm biased because the FBI took a battering ram to my home and took my notes and reporter's notes, and I think that was the woman that called a moment ago began to talk about the FBI, and I apologize for cutting her off. But that's the intelligence gathering against Americans is unconstitutional, immoral, and wrong, and a violation of the Fourth and First Amendment. So whether it's the National Security Agency or the FBI has been weaponized into an intelligence agency. I don't know why that's the case, and it certainly should not be surveilling journalists. And I don't know if you saw my tweet this week, but I was in Los Angeles and I was having dinner at the Peninsula Hotel, and a man was intimidating me, staring at me, and he came outside the hotel, and he made it clear that he knew that I knew that he was there. These are forms of intimidation. We have other people surveilling us on trains, and we have government agencies, and I can't get into this, but they are obviously attempting to surveil us as we talk to our sources. What do they want? They want to know who my sources are. The greatest threat to their autonomy and their corruption is to chill out sources from coming to us. That's their goal, is to intimidate the sources, which is completely ironic because the whole purpose of the American experiment is to have a First Amendment and a freedom of the press. So that's what they want to destroy. And I think they don't want to destroy it too openly or too brazenly. I think not this show, but the next one we're going to have Freedom of the Press Foundation, Trevor Timm on. He's going to talk about a law that Congress is trying to get passed to protect journalists, to protect what's happening. The bill prohibiting the federal government from compelling journalists and providers of telecommunication services to disclose certain protected information except in limited circumstances. The right of a journalist to keep a secret is, I think, critical in this information age. In the 90s and 80s and 70s, you could write something down on a piece of paper, then burn it. But now, I think the right of privacy when it comes to communications. I'm not talking about the privacy in the bar recording the person. That's different. I'm talking about the right to protect the name of a source and the right to protect the name of a donor. So that's, I think, the answer to the question is just the intelligence gathering against Americans has got to come to an end. Speaking of which, speaking of intelligence gathering, we should talk a little bit about the unplugged phone, because that's a phone where you don't have to worry about that because you don't put your user ID. Go ahead. 1 second. Because we're doing investigations into the White House, the IRS, and now the Secretary of Defense, Pentagon personnel, I'm personally very concerned about how every move and communication of my journalism team is being tracked by our phones. The people who support us, millions of you, are rightfully concerned and worried about being tracked and having your private information compromised. One of the things I know for sure is that with the smartphone you are likely using, you are being listened to and tracked 24/7. They can see our texts, they can see our emails, they know where we go, who we call, which apps we use, and what we buy and what we browse. And by having an ad ID running on your phone, the apps you're using are constantly gathering and storing your personal information and using it to monitor you and to monetize our data. We thought our phone is the product, but the reality is the product is us, and our personal information is the product. And by the way, even when we think our phone is off, it's still listening. I'm excited to announce that the days of our phones harvesting our personal private information for the benefit of big tech and big government ends right now. Because of a new smartphone developed by Eric Prince, the phone is called Unplugged. Unplugged is built with a totally independent operating system that is absolutely secure. No tracking us in apps. Every call and text is end-to-end encrypted. They can't listen in or follow our online activity, and if we were ever under threat, we can send a code and our data is totally wiped. And I love that it has the camera, speed, storage, and chipset that rival the iPhone and Android. If you're like me, I've had it as a journalist or any citizen that wants to protect their privacy. I've had it with all of my personal and private information being exposed and exploited by big tech and big government. So I'm joining Eric Prince, Mr. Pentagon Guy, and I'm switching to my new unplugged phone. And I'm also going to tell you how you can also. So grab a pen, write this down. To protect your privacy and get your very own unplugged phone, that's unplugged.com/OMG. That's unplugged.com/OMG. Take your privacy back. Unplugged.com/OMG. And actually, that phone, we actually just put a couple apps on it. You know, frankly, I think that's the biggest concern. That's the concern right there. Their ability to track you and compromise journalistic sources. Hey, Richard, you have one more question, then we're going to go to the technology, because I want to talk about our hidden cameras.
No more questions, but keep doing what you're doing, brother. I really appreciate it, and I know America does, I know the world does, and I like your comment from the other day that went viral. If your price isn't your life, then you can be bought. So thank you very much, brother.
If your price is not your life, then you are for sale. Then you are for sale. That was at the Socrates in the City event with Eric Metaxas. Is it 10 million? Is it 20 million? Is it 100? What is your price? Because if your price is not your life, then you are for sale. If your price is not your life, then you are for sale. So, if you're going to be a truth teller, your price has to be your life. I can't surround myself with people whose price is not their life. Because the enemy, whatever the enemy is, whether it be physical, legal, spiritual, will attack the vulnerability of the person who can be compromised. So you get real spiritual real fast if you're going to do this type of work. You get real spiritual real fast because, well, frankly, you get to the deepest questions, the most significant questions, the question we asked earlier, who in our federal agency are patriots? And that's a question, because are you a patriot if you're Trevor Kolodny working for CISA and you like Rand Paul and you think he should cut the funding and you think Trump is right and you think Biden doesn't care about trade and you're participating in a system where your conscience is being torn? It really is a fascinating question. I don't even think people think that way, really, usually, but we do. And we have a caller or two who's just joined to get reaction. We're going to go to those reactions too, but first we're also going to talk about our hidden cameras. I've yet to do this on the show. If we can go ahead and pull up the website, omgundercover.com. You may be wondering, how do we record, Trevor? And I have the cameras right in front of me. Let's not put up the website just yet. I'm going to demonstrate how the cameras are being used. So if you're listening through Spaces, you cannot see me, but if you're on Rumble and YouTube, you can. This looks like a bunch of keys, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It's not a bunch of, well, it is keys, but it's not meant to open doors. There's actually a camera in this key fob. And there you have the key fob right here. You have an SD chip. You turn the camera on by holding down one of the buttons. It turns on the light. You hold the button down once again, second time, and then the light is purple, and now it's recording. Right there, it's recording you. It lasts about an hour and a half. So in order to record, sorry, 1 second, you hold down the button, it turns purple, and then to turn it off, you just press the button once again, and now it's blue. To turn it off, the center button. This is one of the recording devices we used. You snap it on your keychain, and no one's the wiser. So we actually recorded Trevor at CISA with this camera. I also recorded Mark Cuban with this camera. And you can actually, anybody can get these cameras on OMG Undercover. This here looks like a coffee cup from Starbucks, right? This is probably one of the most indiscreet cameras because nobody. Look at this. You take the lid off. It's actually a circuit board, and you hold down the button, and it is recording. You put the lid back on, and now you have a camera. Put the lid right back on like that. Snap it in, and the camera is on the opposite side of the brim. And there you can we go up and pull up omgundercover.com. Is it up there?
It's up.
Okay, so you can buy these cameras. I mean, we actually give these cameras to many of our sources. We don't charge people for them. At Project Veritas, we also had these cameras that we used, but we sell them, we white label them, and this is how we record it. People ask about technology all the time. James O'Keefe, what do you film on? This is what I film on right here. You might be saying, James O'Keefe, why are you giving away all of your secrets? Ladies and gentlemen, why am I giving away all my secrets? I am literally meeting with people in the federal government who have no idea who I am. Literally, you think they're gonna notice like what type of key fob or like the coffee cup I have? No, they're not gonna notice. The security guy inside the Pentagon, the cybersecurity inside the White House, the security guy inside CISA have no idea. Cameras. Anything else on the cameras? You guys can buy these. We give them to sources. So that's what we do. Let's go back to some of the audience reactions. Let's go to Angel's Walk. Are you there?
Yes, sir, I am. James, I love you so much.
Oh, where are you from?
Well, I'm from Texas.
Only steers and queers are from Texas.
No, that's just not true.
That's what I've heard.
That's not true.
I think I saw that in a Stanley Kubrick film.
Patriots.
What's that?
We're full of red-blooded patriots.
Well, you sound like one. What's up? What's your reaction to the video?
Well, I was stunned, but then not again. No. What really upsets me is that these people have knowledge of what they're doing, and they do it anyway, and they think that they're on the right side of history. But I think, James, if you had an army that we could tip this, the shame that these people should feel, that society should heap upon them, is just not there. And that's what really frightens me, is that people see this and they just shrug their shoulders. That's what frightens me.
Well, what do you think the solution is?
I think the solution needs to be more people shaming them publicly. Shun them. Don't associate with people that will literally sell their country out. They're selling us out. This is, some people call it a managed decline, opening the borders, stymieing trade. I mean, this is insane. This is not what this country is about. And patriots are standing up. We're doing our best. I heard you speak about Charlie Kirk. That young man is just, what he's been able to do, it's astonishing, and I pray for him because his efforts are not without support. There are people that the grassroots are coming up and bubbling up to the surface, but we need more, Charlie. We need the people that are sitting on the sidelines and not doing anything. We need to clone people like you and Charlie to do this work. Jack Posobiec, the ever powerful Steve Bannon's posse. Things like this are bubbling to the surface, but there's just so much corruption within the government, and it is blatant.
Well, I mean, how do we shame them? I think the way to shame them is to expose them, right? To get them on videotape. Obviously, this man, Trevor, inside of CISA, is probably ashamed of these things. He might not say them publicly. I've invited him to say them publicly, but what better way to shame the person than to reveal their statements before the world? Or maybe what you're saying is that there aren't enough people waking up. We need more people to wake up. I don't know what better way to wake people up than to reveal what's going on. Congress is broken. I don't think it really matters who wins in Congress. I mean, all that really matters is, to your point, shaming, exposing, and shaming the devil. That's actually, I think, the new motto of OMG: shaming the devil. Can the devil be shamed? Here's a question for you.
Yes, sir. The jumbotron in Times Square, put them on blast.
Mm-hmm.
It can be everywhere, and it should be everywhere. I agree with everything that you do. I wish that it was on every platform, and that these huge social media conglomerates would just put us.
I would only say that we my whole career, people have been saying, but why isn't this on the front page of the New York Times and Good Morning America? Because I don't know who the conglomerates you speak of are. Do you mean like CBS News or Apple or
Social media, they're more powerful than the networks. But I mean, for example, look at what happened over at NBC and MSNBC. Ronna McDaniel was literally pushed out of that network because she had a different opinion. The media is just as corrupt as the government because they are in lockstep partners with the government.
Well, the question is, what is the media? Is my question to you. Who is the media? What is the media anymore? MSNBC as MSNBC doesn't. No one really watches that. Like they don't really have any viewers. Neither does CNN. I mean, these videos, you know, the videos that you're talking about here that are getting 5-10 million views. So I'm not sure who the media even is anymore. I mean, we are the media. You are the media.
That's true.
And I think people like to complain about how bad the thing is, but nothing is preventing you from, like, as Steve Jobs would say, that creating your own world and having other people live in it. And that's why we have OKeefe Academy. OKeefeMediaGroup.com/OKeefe-Academy. Teach people how to do the citizen journalism. We're just getting started. We got a long ways to go. But thank you, ma'am, for your comments. It was a pleasure to talk to you. We got
It was so wonderful to talk to you too, James. I just adore you.
Well, thank you, and we need support from people like you. Prayers, resources, funding, and of course sharing the story. So thank you. Let's go to JC Jameson. You got your hand up. Go ahead.
Hi, James. Yeah, I noticed last week you dodged a couple questions about Alex Jones, and he's covered Bohemian Grove for a long time. He says they're bad dudes, they're Satan worshipers, they're the elite of society, everything he opposes and everything that you claim to oppose. I noticed, you really avoided that question. Can you address why you went to Bohemian Grove and who exactly you were meeting with, or if you can't address that, why, is Alex Jones just totally wrong about them? Are they not bad people? Are they, is he lying to everybody? Well, what's going on?
So Ken Leary is your name. And I got to say this to you, Ken. You did such a great job on that 2011 NPR investigation. That was 13 years ago. What you did was so powerful, Ken. Ken Leary is your name. I know who you are. And I just have to say that for the last 13 years, you haven't followed up and done anything. And you could be so much better than you are. You could be undercover inside of MSNBC talking to the people who are upset at Ron McDaniel. You could be doing undercover work like this that my team are doing right now inside these federal agencies. That could be you, Ken Leary. Because your name is Ken Leary. And I just don't know why you're not doing the great work you did in 2011 when you went undercover posing as an agent of the Muslim Brotherhood and investigated Ron Schiller, who's the vice president, no relation to Vivian Schiller, talking about how they would accept a $5 million donation. That was amazing work that you did. That was incredible investigative reporting, Ken. And I encourage you to follow up and do more. It's going to make you happier. It's going to make you more fulfilled than just hating every day. It's bad for your heart. You can do this. And you know what? If you reach out to me, DM me, I will even give you a camera, and I'll even pay for your hotel and flight. How does that sound, Ken? Ken, you still there? Wow. That was, ladies and gentlemen, that was Ken Larry. And every week he calls on, he was just pretending to use a Southern accent. And I think his name is actually Ken Larry. He calls every week. But notice that's what I call shame. Debbie, that's what we call shame. Because that's the truth. Ken could be going undercover. He did a great job with the story in 2011, and he hasn't done anything since. He's just so angry at me when he should be out there doing it, you know? But I find it really interesting. I let him talk. I quietly and calmly addressed him and said, hey, you need to go do this, and he just hung up the phone. Did you mute him? Hey, team, did you mute Ken Larry? No. Unbelievable. Okay. Well, Ken, that's what I call shame. And I guess the question is, I'm willing to stand up and face the fire. So why aren't you? I think you're very talented. I think you should do it again. One more caller. Let's go to, let's see who we're going to go to next. Levi, go ahead. You're on mute.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for a lot of the work you do. I've worked in a lot of countries abroad, and what you guys do uncovering what's going on in social media really impacts hundreds of countries. People don't realize Google affects elections in many, many countries like India and South Asia. Whether you're on the first page or on the 26th page makes a profound difference in how these democracies perform. So yeah, more citizen journalism is super important. I'm just wondering, I think with the OKeefe Academy, you're having a global reach, right? So if I happen to run into citizen journalists, we can just point them your direction no matter what country they're in?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're so busy just in this country. I mean, it saddens me to report that I cannot tell everyone's story. But I would encourage citizens to learn through OKeefe Academy how to tell your own stories, Levi. And the most important, there's 5 classes online. We're going to be adding more classes. It's OKeefeMediaGroup.com/OKeefe-Academy. And we teach ethics. We teach how to write a headline, communication. We teach how to go undercover, tradecraft. It's the 101. And I think that as a journalist, the most important thing that you can learn how to do is to find out what the important bit of information is. Very few people can do that, and I would encourage you to take that course. It's a few $100. It's going to be, you go to journalism school, you're going to spend $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. So, yeah, you can do that anywhere in the world. And as far as the recording laws are concerned, you got to be careful which country. In the United States, 38 states, it's legal. 12 states, it's problematic. We have all that information for you, Levi. And thank you for asking. Okay. What's next? We've gone over technology, and we are now going to talk about the P. Diddy case. The P. Diddy case, I want to talk about that and talk about this sex trafficking ring. We could pull up the post-millennial article.
What's up?
James O'Keefe asked for tips on Diddy's sex trafficking allegation after feds raid rapper's home. This is the Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy. When I was in middle school, they called him Puff Daddy. When did that change? What year was that? Was that like 1997? Before you were born? I don't know. I'm a millennial, but I'm on the older side of the millennial scale. Hitting the big 4-0 this year.
2001.
2001. Okay, I was in 11th grade. So P. Diddy's story. P. Diddy Combs is currently being investigated for being part of a human trafficking ring. In recent months, there have been several sexual abuse lawsuits filed against Combs. Combs' house in LA and Miami are both raided as part of a federal sex trafficking investigation. Sean himself has not been arrested. Combs was known to have freak-out parties, tons of guests, sex workers, prostitutes, underage girls and boys. Combs has been accused in the lawsuit that he would drug underage boys, lace drinks, force his producer into humiliating sex acts, had hidden cameras in all of his rooms to blackmail his attendees. So he used hidden cameras in his rooms. Now, that's the thing about blackmail. I've never blackmailed anybody. But a lot of people have encouraged me to do things like that, which I don't think is right. I as a journalist, ever leverage information against someone. First of all, it's illegal almost all of the time. Of course, now we're talking about sexual blackmail, but just the fact that he's used hidden cameras to record, blackmail is something that is immoral, but it's shocking how many people encourage me to make that part of my business model. Oh yes, just hold on to this information and use it as leverage. No, thank you. So he used blackmail and allowed gang rapes to take place. Hollywood executives were the ones attending Diddy's home. Allegedly, Diddy has footage that he can use as blackmail on all of his attendees. So this is a headline on the screen here. We asked for tips on this. We're actively looking into the Sean Combs Diddy situation. If anyone has tips, information about the developing Diddy case, please contact our DM or text us on Signal. Our line on the screen there, 914-315-9415. That's 914-315-9415. We're on Signal now, ladies and gentlemen. And I say this because a lot of the sources are coming to us on the border. I just had conversations yesterday with 3 highly placed sources, 914-315-9415. Kevin Mensah is P. Diddy, is the co-founder of Diddy's approved jet company. We're going to call him right now and ask him for comment on the allegation and the whereabouts of Puff. Wait, is it Puff or P? Puff Diddy?
P. Diddy.
Is it Puff Diddy? Is it Puff Diddy or P. Diddy? I don't know. P. Diddy, Puff Diddy, Puff Daddy? I don't know. But let's call Kevin Mensah with P. Diddy and get the comment. The gentleman we're calling, Kevin Mensah, co-founder and partner.
This is Kelvin speaking.
Hey, Kelvin. Is this Kelvin Mensah?
Yes.
Hey there. You're the co-founder of the approved jets company, right?
Correct.
With the Diddy?
No, with Aaron Olson.
Are you sure you don't work with Diddy?
No, I don't.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
It says it on your LinkedIn page that your mentor was Sean Diddy Combs.
No, I did a prior charter for his team, but my team did a charter for this company. I don't work with him directly, though.
Well, let me just read this to you real quick. Since booking your first jet at 21, Kelvin, that's you, has been flying recording artists. You've been flying recording artists, celebrities, and athletes.
Yeah, who's speaking? Who's speaking? I'm sorry, who's this?
My name is James O'Keefe, and I'm just reading your LinkedIn page. Your ever-expanding list of high-profile clients has set you apart. Your relentless efforts to master your craft and charismatic approach has led to respect and admiration from your mentor. This is your words on your LinkedIn page. Admiration from your mentor, Sean Diddy Combs. Is that incorrect? Am I reading something off your LinkedIn page?
Yeah, it's probably like an old LinkedIn page. I didn't write it, so it's probably like an old one that my team probably presented. What's going on? Do you need help with anything?
Yeah, I guess the help that I need is the curiosity of why your LinkedIn page says that your mentor is Sean Diddy Combs.
Oh, sir, can I give you a call right back? So I'm gotta do a call. Can I give you a call right back?
Are you really going to call me back?
Yeah, I'm just super busy right now. I'll give you a call back.
This is really important. P. Diddy has been raided over sex trafficking allegations, and you say that he's your, quote, mentor.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you a call right back.
I'd like to know the whereabouts where he is, and I'd like to know if you've seen his mentor participate in this human, orgies, and he hung up the phone. So his LinkedIn page of Kevin Mensah. So didn't in the first part of that call he say that he didn't know P. Diddy? And then I read him his LinkedIn page and he said, oh yeah, that was written a long time ago. So which is it? Do you know P. Diddy or do you not know P. Diddy? That's wild.
LinkedIn is on the computer.
Okay, if you looked at the computer, you see LinkedIn. That was, for those of you just joining us, I just called this guy Kevin Mensah, co-founder, approved Jets venture partner. Quote, my relentless effort to master the craft and charismatic approach has led to respect from my mentor, Sean Diddy Combs. That's what it says. What's up? Oh, the producer is. Oh, I apologize. Right here. For those of you watching on Rumble and YouTube, would you look at that? So he hung up the phone. We're gonna have to get that cut up and produced and distributed tonight, team, because that was interesting to me. That's why you ask for comment about the thing they don't know about, and then they deny it. That's very interesting. And there's a picture of him. Is that on LinkedIn? PJ Kev? That's him. Happy birthday to my brother. This is last year. Happy birthday to my brother. Love you, bro. Keep shining. Is that him? Team? Kevin Mensah with Sean. Okay, that's with Sean's son. That's not with is that with the Sean Combs or the son? Christian Combs. Okay. That's Instagram. That's his son. So he's jonesing around with his son. He's hanging around. He's palling around. Remember that palling around with McCain and Sarah Palin. He's palling around. He's palling around with Christian Combs. He says his mentor is Sean Diddy Combs. I wonder if he's going to call me back. If you're just joining the program, ladies and gentlemen, I just called Kelvin Mensah, who's palling around with Christian Combs, son of P. Diddy, and who says on his LinkedIn that Sean Diddy Combs is his mentor, and he just denied that he knows him on the air. And then when I called him out on it, he said he suddenly has to go. What a bunch of liars. What a bunch of liars. The question were the kids on the jet? Did they fly in the private jet? Did the little kids fly? Oh, look, Grant Cardone is there. Hey, Grant, can you hear me? Grant?
Yo, bro, I can't talk right now.
Okay, you're just listening. Thanks, Grant. Let's go to Tito. Tito, you've had your hand raised for a little while. Go ahead, sir. Hey, Tito, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I had the mic on. Hey, James, how you doing? Hope all's good. I follow you for a while, and I appreciate everything you do. On the just a comment on the Trump was right video. I mean, it sucks as much as videos we show the public nowadays. It's like they seem kind of to look the other way. I think they have to experience things for them to wake up. And the other thing too is that I follow, for a while, Alex Jones, and I am curious of why what were you doing at Bohemian Grove? I mean, I've listened to Alex go into details on that, and you're saying the opposite of it. So I'm just curious myself, just as a fan, and not trying to troll, or I'm not a bot. I'm actually Tito from California, so that I'll ask you that.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. I mean, listen, I have, as a journalist, I have sources everywhere, in places you would never suspect, and I've had donations come in from 100,000 different people, and I've been in every place you can possibly imagine. And the thing about being a reporter is sometimes I cannot talk about certain sources and certain individuals I'm talking to. It's just part of the First Amendment right to keep certain secrets. I can't be transparent about every single thing. There has to be a sense of loyalty in some cases to certain sources and in some cases to certain individuals. Perhaps they could be my sources. And I can't be, and there's a whole chapter in my book called Secrecy where there are certain things that I do. There are certain secrets I have to keep. On some things I'll be completely transparent. But on other things I can't. I just can't be transparent because maybe I'm doing an investigation. Maybe I have to protect a source. But it doesn't always mean that I'm, doing something wrong because I'm keeping a secret. In fact, I can't really do my job as a journalist unless I can keep a secret. Because the people that trust me with information, like I was talking to a guy yesterday, this is related to the border, I'm trying to convince them that I will be loyal to them. I will not give them up. I will not share their name. And if I just share everyone's name I've ever met with and disclose everything that I've ever done, then I'm betraying the confidence of a source. And then I can't do my job. I can't provide secret information to the public. Does that make sense?
I completely understand. That makes complete sense.
But if I was ever witness to people eating babies and making human sacrifices, you bet your ass I'd film that.
Okay. Yeah, no,
I mean,
understand,
but that's part of your. You have to kind of have faith in me. If you don't, if I haven't proved that, people say, well, James, you're controlled opposition. I don't even, because I didn't release a story from 4 years ago. It's like, nothing screams controlled opposition like being arrested, placed on house arrest, raided by the FBI, arrested by the FBI, faced 2 criminal grand jury subpoenas in New Hampshire, been sued 25 times, faced two jury verdicts, and being stripped of all authority from the company I founded.
Yeah.
If that doesn't, if you guys are still, and I'm not saying you, sir, you seem like a really polite and honest person, but if there's 2% of my audience that thinks that I'm controlled op, I think we've lost faith in humanity. And I think that it really comes down to the right of a reporter to protect the source and the freedom of association rights that the First Amendment relies upon. That's what I have to say about that right now.
I just, because I think just nowadays it's hard to trust individual, even on our side, so I think that's why.
And like I said, I think that it's getting harder to know who the good and the bad guys are.
Exactly. Well, thank you again, James. And also, I believe maybe near future, maybe I think you should let Justin Leslie, because there's a lot of questions around that, to have a voice on that. But again, that's just my opinion. Have a good day and God bless.
God bless you. Thank you for the comment. And one more, Mattia Murta. Go ahead. You're on. I think you're muted.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me on. So grateful for you and your team. With regards to everything that you're sharing with these stories that keep coming out, their consistency and the consistency of your team is immaculate. I just wanted to ask a question about the theology discussion that you were like throwing this around a couple weeks ago. And I was like, dang, has he done anything else about that? Because I think it's fantastic to hear from individuals like yourself who have a larger platform to discuss these things, especially around faith, because this is the one thing that's fundamental to every society that upholds it. So any more movements on that?
Remind me specific. They've had a bunch of theological. Everything sort of becomes theological, but you get real spiritual real fast. But can you tell me what you're referring to, and I could get you more info?
Oh, of course. Yeah, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, you had discussed possibly having a discussion about theology and from the perspective of being a journalist and how that's impacted your work.
I have yet to have that discussion, but we did have a discussion with Eric Metaxas and Socrates in the City. There was we touched upon this, but I think a longer discussion is needed. Oh, I've discussed it also with David Engelhardt, and I have had a conversation. He's doing a series. I forgot the name of it at the moment, but David Engelhardt is a pastor in New York City, this church called Trinity. And I sat down and talked to him for 2 hours. I think he's released little snippets of that. I am not extremely qualified to discuss theology per se, although through the School of Hard Knocks, I've learned, I've become quite spiritual and understood that, I think most recently, the conversation about what is your price, right? Did you happen to see that clip?
Oh, absolutely.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, no, I totally agree. I've been a whistleblower on multiple fronts, and I saw that, and I was like, finally, somebody is saying it. Because if the price is not your life, anything goes. But once you reach that point where you have that realization, it's not just something you say, it becomes revelation to you, and that's how you live. You have the most amount of courage out of anybody, and you become unstoppable, and that's really brilliant to see with you and your team.
What did you blow the whistle on?
Actually, the United Nations a couple years ago, sexual misconduct by UN personnel.
And what did you reveal? What specific information or evidence did you bring to the public?
I brought, actually through a tweet, I just said, here you go, this is the United Nations, and it was UN personnel in Tel Aviv, Israel. They were utilizing what is yet to be deemed, but we know most likely to be a prostitute in UN and a UN vehicle, and that is completely against UN handbook policy. So that's something that launched an internal UN investigation that's ongoing to this day. Nonetheless, credible action has actually been taken, and the thing is with the UN is that there's so many whistleblowers inside that their HR department is crap. to be honest.
Wow.
And so nobody, like, it's a running joke that's really sinister and quite sad. But within UN personnel ranks anyway, there's hundreds and hundreds of whistleblowers, but they have nowhere to go because of NDAs and other things.
So they can't, the HR department is crap because they are not properly addressing the issues of the whistleblower. They're clamping down on them, or, you know, is that what you mean by the HR? Yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, there was a woman in the United Nations Human Rights Council named Emma Riley, and she came forward because in the UN Human Rights Council itself, they were actually handing off the names of Chinese dissidents to the CCP when they would come to the Human Rights Council to testify against the Communist Party. And when the names were handed off to the CCP, that communist nation would actually go after the families of these dissidents who were testifying. So this is just one of many, many stories. Her story actually got out, thank God.
What about having these UN whistleblowers? Do you still have relationships with these people? A rapport with them?
Absolutely.
And they're still on the inside of the United Nations?
A couple of them are. Some of them, for their own mental, spiritual sake, had to get out, and also for their personal safety had to get out as well. But some of them, yes, are still inside.
I mean, one of the questions is, to what extent is the United Nations involved in the human trafficking / illegal immigration crisis?
Well, we know that they're involved in the immigration crisis that's been published, I believe, post-millennial. I have a couple of friends over there. I believe they've actually posted about it. But yes, they are involved with civil society. Open Society is one of the major philanthropist groups that funds the UN and is helping on the immigration front. But UN is basically a huge money funneling system, and they work with civil society on the ground in order to accomplish illegal immigration.
Well, I would like to, this is what I love about this radio show, because this is not an ordinary radio show. This is a radio show where we recruit people and put them into action. And I would love to talk to you, Matea, offline, and maybe send you a couple of our hidden cameras. and where are you located? Are you in the United States? Are you in Canada? Where are you located?
In the United States.
In New York, or whereabouts?
In the United States.
Okay, I won't. You shouldn't answer that question. Good. See, that was a test. Everything's a test. That was a test.
Oh, I know it.
Well, let's talk offline, and I'd like to talk to you more, and maybe we can put these people to work. I just think it'd be. I think you're right. I think the Human Resources Department. I'm seeing something happen, Matea, where the individual is no longer loyal to the institution because the institutions have become systemically corrupt, and there's no redress for grievances. The only thing they can do is bring the information to the public. And the more public these people are, the better they're going to be protected. And they can DM, if they're listening, maybe they are, the number again, this is directly to me, okay? Through the unplugged phone, 914-315-9415. That's 914-315-9415 on Signal, 914-315-9415. It's like Ghostbusters. Who are you going to call? So if they're listening, but Matea, it's been a pleasure talking to you again. Let's talk offline.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's amazing. Okay, what's next? Anything can happen on the inside with James O'Keefe. Literally, we got Puff Daddy, we got United Nations, we got cybersecurity officials. We got people calling former employees pretending to have a Southern accent. And we have people calling about the Bohemian Grove. What an eclectic stew of issues. Isn't that interesting? Like, what else is going to happen? Let's go to the FOIA request that we filed last week. We've got Jason Watkins on the line. Hey, Jason, are you there?
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back on.
It's great to have you, Jason, and maybe if you can give the world an update about this Pima County Sheriff video footage.
Right, so we've been trying to get our hands on this footage for almost 2 months now. So you went on, beginning of February 4th, you went to Pima County to go investigate some of these migrant stories that we've been getting. After you reported, Congressman Tom Tiffany also came, and both of you guys were threatened with arrest by Pima County Sheriff's deputies. We've been trying to get a hold of the body cam footage for now it's going on 6 weeks. You remember last week we got a kind of a pithy response from a real smart aleck response from the sheriff saying that we needed to come with a spoonful of sugar.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Mary Poppins song.
Right. You know, that we should show up with our hands in our hat and ask nicely for these records. Well, we've since heard back from them, and they're about to release the videos to us, but we have to pay $149.50. And we also have to wait for them to mail them to our actual mailing address. For some reason, they can't upload or email or send via the cloud these digital files to us. So we've made some progress, but we still haven't gotten our hands on them.
All right, for those of you who are listening, and we're really in the weeds here, and that's part of what we do as reporters, is we kind of have to get into the weeds. And I and Jason are really like nerds when it comes to FOIA requests. One of the great things about a FOIA request is you get to see the video that the officer is wearing. And I've gotten some comments, well, don't you like the police? Why are you against the police? I'm not against the police. This has nothing to do with being for or against the police. That's a non sequitur. This is, Jason, about transparency, right?
Right. And it gives us an idea of what was said about us by the reporter, the complainant. So,
and just so that the people are aware of what you mean, the police officers were standing in front of the Ramada Hotel, engaged in conversation with these officials that were running the illegal immigrant compound. So,
correct.
So
and
this is...
We have reason to believe that they may have lied to the police. They may have said that you threatened or trespassed, or in the case of when we were down on the border of Nogales, the NGO actually did accuse us of hurling racial slurs at them. And when the police came, we proved that we did not do that. So we need to get a hold of the records, not just because we want to keep the sheriff's department accountable, but we want to keep the people who reported us to the sheriff accountable. And now it's becoming, we've waited so long that I'm concerned now that people in Pima County cannot get records.
All right. Well, let's talk about this, and then the favorite. I think it's becoming a running theme on the inside is we get to Jason, because you are an instructor at the Cronkite School of Journalism, and I love so we're gonna use the show as a vehicle to teach people how to do the reporting. And if you're looking, if the producers here could put this on the camera here. This is an email we got from Amber Halkowitz. She's the Information Records Supervisor, Sheriff's Department Records Maintenance Unit. Remember, American citizens, you have a right to request body cam footage. Now, every time I show up, they always call the cops. So it's fascinating, riveting footage that we're trying to get here. They're going to charge us $150. And I'm going to go ahead and call Ms. Amber Halkowitz here. I have the phone number. You don't, because I redacted it. Otherwise, Elon might remove me from the platform for violating the privacy. Here we go. That's an interesting ethical question. Should phone numbers for public officials be redacted? What do we think? Should phone numbers for public officials be redacted? I don't know. Maybe comment in the nest. We're calling Amber Halkowitz, Information Records Supervisor, Sheriff's Department, Pima County Sheriff's Office, trying to get the footage that belongs to us, we the people. They're probably afraid that I'm going to air their...
being forwarded to a MyTel voicemail system.
They're probably afraid I'm going to air their conversation like last week.
Right.
They don't want to be revealed. Don't pick up the phone. Don't. It's James O'Keefe. Don't pick it up. Although I'm not calling from James O'Keefe's phone. I'm calling from Steven's phone. So they don't know that I'm calling from James O'Keefe's phone. What area code is the phone? Is it New Jersey?
501.
Oh, they think it's a Jersey caller. Maybe they're not going to pick it up. I'm going to leave a message. What should I say, Jason?
Being forwarded to a MyTel voicemail system.
Go ahead.
Extension 84307 is not available. Please leave a message at the tone. When finished, you may hang up or press pound for additional options.
Hey, Amber M. Halkowitz. This is James O'Keefe, CEO of OKeefe Media Group. Looking for the footage that is, quote, ready and available. We're going to go ahead and pay this via credit card, and we've been sent an invoice, and we're really excited to get the footage from Pima County, and we would definitely like to review the footage. So we might have someone go in person to review it, actually, in Tucson before purchasing. But we'd love to schedule that appointment to go look at that footage. That's some very interesting footage, and very, very riveting stuff. So I look forward to watching that and publishing that, and maybe even in a movie theater near you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Bye-bye. Okay, so Jason, she says that in the email that we can actually go in and look at the footage. Is
That's right.
Is that true?
Apparently so, and I would like to take her up on that.
I think that we should send one of our Tucson people in the office. In fact, let's go ahead and get someone inside. We got some people in Tucson. I think we have I'm not going to say the individual's name, but let's get someone into that office to go look at that footage.
I agree.
Tomorrow, so we can watch that footage.
We've waited long enough.
I know.
Almost 2 months.
I know. So thank you, Jason. Anything else you want to add to this ongoing story?
Well, I've been trying to get a hold of the Attorney General. I've been trying to get a hold of various people at the state capitol to get their attention on it, and so far no one's really paying attention yet. So I'm going to keep on it. We're not going to give up until...
Jason, it appears as though that we've won. They're going to give us the footage, or is there something still missing that we're fighting for?
Well, we still... The problem is they are not in compliance with the state law when it comes to requesting these documents. So there's something broken in the system when people request body cam footage, and it's taking 2 months for them to release it. There's just a number of ways that they're not complying with the federal and the state law. And so we need to, as a media, we need to make sure that we follow up and that we keep them honest. And
Well, it appears as though that's exactly what you've done. So bravo to you. And I think we need 100 Jason Watkins filing FOIA requests. And if you're someone that's having trouble getting FOIA requests, just contact me, and we're going to make that happen. Thank you, Jason.
Yep,
Talk to you soon.
Thank you, James.
All right.
Good to see you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We've got one more thing to do before we go to lightning round. We're going to now talk about a hot tip that we just got. This is inside of Bank of America. Sometimes this stuff happens on the air, and this part of the show, On the Inside with James O'Keefe. If you're just joining us, today's breaking story on the inside of Cybersecurity Administration. Trevor Kolodny declares, quote, Trump was right about trade. Biden doesn't care about trade. Rand Paul makes a lot of good points. That's the undercover video report. And now we have a new tip that has just come in. And we're going to put this on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. This is, again, if you're on X, you can't see it. But if you're on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, you can. This is something on the inside of Bank of America. It just came in today. What are you looking at here? This is a piece of information. It appears to be something from Bank of America. We got a team, if we can pull up that tip that we got alongside the screenshot. This is a hot tip from inside Bank of America. We have the tip alongside of it. I have a screenshot from a friend of mine who works at Bank of America. They do routinely background checks of different clients for compliance reasons, and there's something that might be interesting as a story. They use an organization called MSCI, ESG Research LLC, to run some of these checks, including negative news alerts. Political donations that go to anti-LGBT politicians are marked as bribery and fraud, and hurt the score. ESG report is a misnomer. It's actually a negative news report. So if a client has too many items in a negative news report, it can come back for review under Bank of America. So it appears as though they're surveilling their customers for donations to, quote, anti-LGBTQ politicians? Is that what this is? We're trying to ask questions. Let's go back to that screenshot. This is the screenshot here that was provided to us. Headline, United States media criticisms over alleged political donations to anti-LGBT politicians. So it appears as though we have a lead here, ladies and gentlemen, about some targeting being done on the inside of banks towards customers that do we know what anti-LGBT politician they're talking about? Not sure. But I think we have someone on the line to speak about this. Let's see, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Hello, James. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so talk to us about this screenshot inside of Bank of America.
Yeah, so it's a very simple screenshot, and yet there's a lot here to dissect. So one of the things is, banks, along with many other organizations, outsource a lot of their work to third parties, such as MSCI in this case. MSCI also has clients like Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, I believe, various pension funds, other banks, asset managers, insurers, a lot of different industries. These researchers this research is used on a regular basis for a variety of reasons. And in this case, for banking, it's used for anti-laundering and client due diligence, and it's oftentimes used as part of the annual KYB refresh. So KYB, Know Your Business, is a review that they'll do to remain compliant with our anti-laundering laws, to look for ultimate business owners, things like that, or any kind of illegal activity that might be happening. But there's also, the scoring does come from this third party. So this MSCI group cares a lot about ESG. They do a lot of work with ESG ratings and are able to then influence the scores that these banks have. Sometimes these banks might be aware of what's going on and are approving. Sometimes people maybe not so much. And in this case, it's considered a minor instance of bribery and fraud that they're going to flag, though if this happened enough, or if it was severe enough, this could actually cause them to drop this entity, which could be a business, it could be an organization, as a client, so that they would no longer be able to use these banking services. The negative news alerts, we don't really know what they consider anti-LGBTQ politicians. So this could be a donation to somebody who's worried about transitioning children. That could be considered LGBTQ, right? It could also be anti-LGBTQ if you go to a church that has a more conservative theology. So is giving to that kind of church, is a member of that kind of church, an anti-LGBTQ politician. So you can see how this could easily spiral out of control,
Right.
As we move forward. And, it's really just used as a proxy to identify Republican-affiliated clients. And specifically, this is for legal entities, so it's not going to be individuals. It will be businesses and other organizations that would hold a bank account with B of A or with other banks. And it's nothing new. We've seen this happen with, efforts to go after gun companies, where I believe it was JP Morgan who had put pressure on Intuit to stop providing services, right? So that would be, things like QuickBooks.
So this is I'm looking at the screenshot here. It says bribery and fraud, very severe, severe, moderate, minor. And is there any way that we can get more information about this? Like, because if they've done this in this case, they've probably done it in other cases.
Right. So, I had just found out about it and asked for a screenshot of what was going on. So I submitted this over to your team. And, I've already requested that, just keep an eye out for other headlines that seem suspicious, that seem like they're aligned with certain political agendas, or any other kind of cause. And, I'd like to get more. I wish I could work directly with this, but a lot of these banks do monitor what their employees do. So a lot of their employees are scared to kind of go in and get these screenshots. unless they just happen across something. But they're scared to go and look because everything is being monitored.
Well, go ahead and post these screenshots on X. If you're just listening, you're listening to an individual who posted a comment about this Bank of America internal screenshot. It appears to be they're targeting their own customers if they donate to quote anti-LGBT politicians. They're marked as bribery and fraud, and it hurts their ESG score. Question is, Matt, is Bank of America willing to publicly acknowledge that they're doing this, or is this a secret?
Well, that's a good question, and this is where it would be something that we'd have to go towards one of the upper managerial workers and see if they're able to answer that for us.
Yeah, it might be good to call them for comment.
Yeah, so I think somebody who's running their KYB practices would be a good person to contact. So maybe I'll see who that is and get you.
See, this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. You say, what can I do? Here's a guy who's actually doing something. He didn't tell me to do it. He's going to contact the KY. What department was that?
KYB, Know Your Business.
Know Your Business department.
Yeah.
I mean, he could call. I mean, you could, Matt. I don't know whether you have a journalism degree or who you are. Really, I just talked to you the first time ever here, but he can call up the department and say, "Hey, I got to ask you about this screenshot," and maybe they'll talk to him. Maybe he'll record the call. Right? I mean, the banks record you. This call may be monitored for quality and assurance purposes. If you're calling in Pennsylvania, where it's a felony to record, if you tell them you're recording, you have a right to record if they consent. Stay on the phone with you. So, hey, Matt, thanks for the tip. We'll be following this closely. We'll be posting the screenshots here in a minute of the information, and I'm sure that you're going to inspire other if you're listening, you're inside Bank of America, grow a pair of balls and message me. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
All right, talk soon. All right. Well, we are about to go to lightning round. Lightning round. It's 5:30. We're on time. I'm never on time, but we're on time today. We're covering a lot of ground. So now we've gone after the banks. We've gone after the cybersecurity intelligence community. We've had former employees pretend to have an accent. We've gone through hidden cameras. We've exposed Puff Daddy's mentee, the young man. We're going to get that cut and post it all over the internet because he answered the phone. I guess he's the guy. Is he the guy that flies the airplanes? Who's Kelvin Mensah? He's the co-founder of the jet company that calls Sean Diddy Combs his mentor, and then he denied on the phone that he even knew Sean Diddy Combs. And then we talked about Bank of America. And then we're going to get to lightning round right after this message. The undercover journalism that you come to love at OKeefe Media Group, exposing things the public needs to know, is not only risky, very controversial, it's also really expensive. You have to make payroll, hire journalists, pay lawyers. We're super blessed to have folks that will step up and back us financially, who actually have the backbone to support our mission. One of those groups who has the balls to be in the trenches with us is the Wellness Company. The Wellness Company is with us all the way, and I'm so fortunate to have gotten to know them. And let me tell you why you need to know them. I travel all the time. I'm on an airplane 3 weeks out of the month. I'm actually working through a cold as I speak. That's why my voice is raspy. You do not want to get caught unexpectedly without meds when you're traveling. And right now, I'm taking ivermectin for my cold, and it's working. So this kit at the Wellness Company includes 8 life-saving medications: amoxicillin, Z-Pak, as I mentioned, ivermectin, if you keep on hand, along with a guidebook for safe use, from tick bites to COVID to extreme bioterror events. Wellness Company has every scenario covered in its emergency kit. Save 15% on your purchase today. Grab a pen, write this down: twc.health/OMG. That's twc.health/OMG. Grab your medical emergency kit right now. Code OMG saves you 15% at checkout. All right, let's go to lightning round. This is the time of the day where you say what you want to say, whatever the hell it is, in less than 30 seconds. Usually it's a question. I like to phrase things in terms of questions, or it's a headline. So let's go with question or headline, not speech, not monologue. And I really don't want to hear people who like to hear themselves talk. So it's either a question or a headline. And if and a headline formation is something that we all need to learn. People, it's the who, what. I would start with the who and the what, and then we can get to the where and the why and all that. But the who and the what, let's start with that. So thank you for all joining. We got some people lined up, and some people that are being requested. Let's start with Caroline. You're live. Let's go ahead. Caroline, can you hear me?
Yes, so I'm noticing a pattern from the Department of Homeland Security with the different type of situations that you've discovered. And but I wanted to touch on the Trump's knowledge of the market, which, it is ridiculing to know that Biden has absolutely no understanding on the administrations and policies, and for him to have basically reversed everything that Trump did, and trying to blame Trump for what is happening. I mean, Trump was somebody who initiated incredible regulations, tax cuts, trades, negotiations, and support sectors like the energy and technology. And then we want to complain about this happening. Yes, of course he was right. So thank you.
Thank you for the comment, Carolina. And Carolina is talking about Carolina, pardon me. Carolina was talking about the video that we released today. If you haven't seen it yet, he's saying that Trump was right, even though he calls Trump's people delusional. There it is on the screen. Trump's people are, quote, delusional. But then he also says Trump was right on the trade policy. And there it is right there. Trump was right about trade. And he says Biden doesn't care about trade. This is the CISA officials. Not willing to say it publicly. People were talking earlier, oh, James, you're calling these people out. You're recording them without their knowledge. You could recruit them to your side. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if that's going to be a way of going about it. I think we need thousands of people recorded inside the federal government. Maybe I have a dream that one day OMG releases a new federal employee recorded every single day. How many of you would like that? Right? Would we want that? Or maybe not. Maybe this is just too difficult. Maybe this is just it's too mean to record the federal employees talking about what they think. And it's too difficult to be surveilled and raided and sued and hated, betrayed. So I got to figure out which path. It's like two roads diverge in a yellow wood, the Robert Frost poem. Do I release a recording of a federal employee every day, or do I just say this is just too difficult? What do you guys think? I don't know. That's my rhetorical question. Let's go to Donald. Donald, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
I guess the question I ask is, why do people always 100% back the blue when they do something that is wrong? And I think that Trump should run on saying, hey, after April 10th, if I don't see a big resignation of DHS, every single one of them involved in what is perceived as human trafficking will be put behind bars and prosecuted with the full extent of the law. I think we need to quit saying, I can't pay my mortgage. If I don't do this, I can't pay my mortgage. And that's not an excuse for human trafficking. It's just not.
Well, thank you, Donald. That's a really good point. And that is the issue at hand currently in the year 2024. It comes up every show. It comes up in every conversation I have. And it deserves its own book. And as Matea pointed out earlier, it deserves its own, frankly, discussion. And you get real spiritual real fast because you say, oh, they talk about their family and their children. And the challenge is they have to feed their family and they have to pay their mortgage and they want to protect their children. So there's this conflict that occurs because, do you feed your family and pay your mortgage or do you do the right thing? And is it a conflict? I mean, yes and no, because in their mind, they're trying to protect their children. But in my mind and in the collective mind, I think too, what type of world will the children grow up in if they do nothing? So that really is a conflict in the soul of man, and these are the times that try men's souls. Let's go to B Gold, dear heartfelt. Go ahead.
Hi, been following you for a long time when you were the Planned Parenthood pimp, and I do miss your retracto celebrations deeply. But because of all these Department of Defense and this Trevor Kolodny, these people, I'm wondering what your thoughts are when Vivek Ramaswamy had said if he got in as president, that he thought on day one I think he was talking more about Secret Service, but he was saying I was going to take all the even numbers or the odd number employees and just you're fired on day one. How can we actually drain that swamp? I mean, you're doing it, but you're just one guy and, you know, you have your team. But how could someone make a really effective action, like if Trump gets in there with Vivek or anyone else, to really get rid of some of these people?
You know, I'm not a politician, and Vivek is absolutely brilliant, and I've met him, and I was very impressed by him. I interviewed him, he interviewed me, and I was incredibly impressed. I mean, he says a lot of the right things, and he says them so eloquently, and he articulates these things better than almost anyone I've ever met. I mean, I had a guy tell me, I had lunch with a guy the other day, and I said, how do you drain all this swamp in administrative state? And he says, well, you line them. He's spoken worse words than I'll say, but you line them all up and you eliminate all of them. I said, okay, and then you hire, and then new ones get hired, right? Better ones. And then you say, okay, and so you eliminate all the swamp, you get them all removed, and then better people get put in there, and then you line those people up and you eliminate all of them. It's like, so I mean, you just have to keep. I mean, you know, because the problem in New York is like the Attorney General, everyone's like, oh, down with Schneiderman, and then Letitia James gets in. So
it's the athlete's foot of government.
yeah, I think the only, so like that was a very Machiavellian way of saying what I will say in a different way, which is that political coercion will never work in the final analysis. The only form of accountability, the only solution is the great awakening of American
Spiritual
people.
revelation.
Yes, that's another way of saying it. Light versus dark. So, and you might say, well, that's just pie in the sky platitudes, but it's not.
As a Christian.
It's not pie in the sky. The truth is if and you say I'm only one man, and you're right, I am, but only one man. But there's a lot of people that have been inspired. And we have over 175 of these swipers now operating, and it scares the shit out of the people in the federal government to the point that they're surveilling me personally, and I think that it's terrifying to them. I actually think it's the only thing they're terrified of. They're certainly not terrified of Republicans, and Trump's dilemma is who does he surround himself with inside the White House. I'm speaking as someone who was removed from the company that I founded. So how do you trust people is a question I don't know the answer to. But I think the answer to your question, ma'am, is you got to expose them. I'm repeating myself. That's all I do every day is repeat. How do you do that? Like the gentleman Matt that has the Bank of America phone call. Look at that guy. Right. I'm inspired by him. He came forward. Or Matea and the work that she's doing inside people in the United Nations. These are brave human beings. They're putting their life on the line. They're putting their career on the line, and it inspires me to keep going.
I agree. I'm in California, or California, as they say, and I couldn't express that more deeply. But is it illegal here unless you give them notice that you're recording?
Great question. California, it is a misdemeanor to record. Statute 632. See, I can pass the bar exam. I know all the statutes. I know all the provisions. 632 of the Penal Code. I've been sued over that a couple times. Kamala Harris, the Attorney General of California, raided David Daleiden with machine guns over recording.
I remember that too.
That's my friend of mine, David Daleiden. But here's the law, right? You have to be in a place where there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. So it's legal to record in California, or California, whatever you want to call it. I think it's funny that everyone is from California. Almost everyone that works for me is from California.
And
I don't get it.
We vote red up the wazoo here, and it seems like we don't make a dent. Which is
why do you live in California? The weather?
Born and raised, and I want to get out so bad. We're looking to move to maybe Arizona in the next year. But, I mean, you try to stay here and do the fight. We have a great church, Jack Hibbs, Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. That's my church.
That's a great church.
It is. Eric goes there. My pastor's the one that made the explosive normal Christian prayer in Congress, and everybody lost their ever-loving. But, you know, there's a lot of Republican people here. There's a lot of not rhino, real conservatives, Trump supporting. We've driven through some wealthy neighborhoods that we know are really liberal, like by the Claremont colleges, and you'll see in the hills Trump flags flying everywhere here.
Yeah.
So when we try to recall Gascon and you try to recall Newsom and you do some of these things like this Proposition 1, half of my husband's family are left-wing progressives deeply, and they were like, I voted no on one. This is a BS proposition. And yet There they go, and they passed it miraculously. I mean, they were counting votes like 3.5 weeks after the election. It's so corrupt here that, I mean, we need this piece of the country to just break off and fall into the ocean and bid it adieu.
Well, I think that California, let me compliment you for a minute, because like I'm not exaggerating. My team is laughing because they hear every person that reaches out to me, I would say 2 out of 3 is living in California, and they say, so go California, so goes the country. Go west, young man. So it's almost like you guys, the conservative people in California are like more vocal or more motivated or more, there's something in your DNA or in your nature because of what you're living through. Because there are people like you everywhere, ma'am. It's not just California, but there's something about California conservatives. They're just more willing to do stuff. I have found that to be true. So recording in California is the most important question, and the answer is no reasonable expectation. You might say, well, what defines reasonable? That is a theological question, going back to Matea's point. What is reasonability? You have to like read C.S. Lewis to understand that. Is reasonability something in common law? Is it something in natural law? And if everybody is unreasonable, like in the Washington, D.C. jury pool, then what is reasonable? And then you get philosophical. But let's just say it this way. In California, if someone can overhear the conversation, it's legal. If in the gray area there, Kamala Harris, who's your current Attorney General? Xavier Becerra? I forgot his name.
We just had an election. I don't even know, because they're still counting votes on all these stupid runoff. It's a clown show.
It really is.
It's clownery here, exponential all the time.
And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, ladies and gentlemen, overturned the law in Oregon thanks to our lawsuit, Project Veritas Action versus Schmidt. And then just last week, the Ninth Circuit had to basically hold that with an en banc review. Why? Because David Daleiden, rated by Kamala Harris, cited our victory in the Ninth Circuit as a challenge to the recording law, and then suddenly the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said, wait a second, we can't let this David Daleiden off the hook. So it's a really, the whole thing is just, it's very, I used to believe in the courts, I used to believe in the rule of law, and now I think it's all broken. And the Article 3 courts are, I think, the least corrupt branch of the federal government. There still is some semblance of justice, but it's hanging by a thread. So
if you look at the gun cases that are Bonta v. everybody, all these, thank God for some of these judges, but it is absurdity on steroids here. The stuff with, okay, you can have standard capacity magazines. No, you can't. Yes, you can. No, for 1 day, 2 days. No. It's like, you can't believe it. Every day you open up the news and are like, oh, they stayed that appeal.
yeah,
Oh,
the guy's name is Rob Bonta. I didn't even know his
He's
name.
a disgrace. That's who it
Yep.
is. It's Bonta.
Well, okay, there it is. Rob Bonta, Attorney General of California. He would probably prosecute me and take my family away if I lived in your state of California. That's the thing. So thank you, ma'am. We got to go to the next call. We got a few minutes left.
That's
Thank you.
fine.
Appreciate your time.
Love you. Thank you.
You guys are really, I have to say, you guys are, what this is probably the best audience and the callers I've had. Really great questions, really articulate, passionate people. And I'm really proud to have you guys by my side listening and commenting. Let's go to Jennifer McWilliams. Go ahead.
Hey, James, thank you. So my organization, Courage is a Habit, exposes the education indoctrination. We also offer free tools to people to fight it. CISA and DHS, one of the things that we've exposed is that they are behind teaching the media literacy and education today in K through 12, which is the infiltration of teaching children that the credible sources that they should receive news from is, of course, the mainstream media, and misinformation comes from independent journalists like yourself. So I was just wondering if you were aware of media literacy, and I also wanted to know if you know any journalism companies or organizations that are actually offering true journalism training for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the comment question. Do I know of any journalism organizations that are offering training? And I just, there's this guy, this Irish guy that founded this group and got fired and started another group. That's the most commonly used hashtag on Instagram, OMG. And they have something called OKeefe Academy, OKeefeMediaGroup.com/OKeefe-Academy. For a few $100. You can get access to 5 hours of video, and there's a course there. If you can complete the course, we will send you a press badge. That's right, a new product offering at OKeefe Academy. We're going to send you a press badge, laminated badge with your name and your face, and you have a First Amendment right to go out and report the news. And we're going to be expanding those classes soon, but there is an organization, OKeefe Media Group, that does that.
Thank you. I was aware of that, but I just wanted maybe just a suggestion as we need that for K through 12 age students very badly.
We do, and that'll be something I do. And thank you for the suggestion, and we'll be expanding. Appreciate that. A couple more minutes we have here. Let's see. Let's go to Catherine. Catherine Rex. Go ahead.
Hi. Yes, I've admired your work. I really have, and you have inspired me to do things. I've been trying to do a lot more FOIA requests, but how do I get past the bureaucratic red tape? Like I've been having problems with that here in Florida.
Tell me a little bit about the nature of what you're attempting to do, and then I can help advise.
Donations, stuff like that. Especially like when I was Representative Mike Gallagher, I'm really wanting to look into him because they're not leaving. He's leaving right after the deadline. So I know that he gets a lot of donations from the billionaire singer. I think his name is.
Billionaire singer.
Yeah.
Well, you can look up the donations are all public record to the FEC website. That's something how you can get the information there. Have you tried that?
Well, no, I just started. I literally was about to start looking into him today. What I want to know is all that stuff on, like gifts, big purchases, stuff like that. Do I have to go, through the office and ask them for that?
Well, the Federal Election Commission, all those donations should be matter of public record. You should try the FEC website, start there, and then in terms of FOIA requests, I've always found that showing up in person is a good strategy if you want to file a public records request. Let's go to Steven Sanders. Go ahead.
Hey, James. So actually, it's a piggyback on FOIA here. I do about 2 or 3 FOIA requests a week for the last 2 years. I've had costs range from $2 all the way to $500,000 for records. I have submitted waivers, submitted requests for revisions to try and reduce costs, but it seems like when records that they don't want to get out, they'll price you out of being able to access that. And I have hit so many roadblocks with different agencies, Social Security Administration, local city governments, and Volusia County specifically, that are releasing records to larger news outlets that are let's say, law enforcement, highly pro law enforcement. How do I do to get around this? What case law can I reference that maybe you've referenced in the past?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting question. How do you get around them trying to? I think the number one thing you could do is how about we do this? Maybe I call them on the air, and I raise attention to it. Would that help you?
Yeah, that would absolutely help me. We've got a lot of shenanigans going on.
I mean, I think you can sue, or you can shame. Those are your two options, or you can do both.
I'm trying to shame, using public scrutiny to shame them into releasing records, or at least to say that this is a public matter. For instance, there's an officer who was alleged to, by other fellow officers, making inappropriate comments at high school students at a high school football game, and was found sustained on other charges for going after domestic violence victims after arresting their spouse. But the DeLand Police Department has been stonewalling me to the point where they're switching staff, losing requests, but luckily I record all this stuff. It's becoming a tomfoolery. It's literally just
Yeah, I mean, the late Saul Alinsky, who conservatives criticize him a lot because they think he's demonic, and maybe he was, but he certainly made certain points about organizing, which are nonpartisan. Saul Alinsky used to say that you basically have 2 forms of power, either money or people, populist, and you're seeing that with the rise of Trump and the populist movements. So it really comes down to that. Like, do you have the money to sue them, which requires resources and pay them all this money for their documents? Or do you have power in what I would characterize as a form of shame, which is exposing them? And I think that's what people usually, they don't have that platform. I can provide that platform. Maybe I'll have a portion of this show where I do nothing but call FOIA offices. That's actually not a bad idea. Maybe every week, maybe we can do that together. Maybe next week we do that together. And we call the office together, because obviously right after I called the office in Pima County, they suddenly had the records, right? Or, and obviously then I'll get 100 requests to do this. And I can't say yes to everybody. Or you can go do it yourself. Have you thought about going in person? Have you thought about going in person and or maybe even going not in person? Maybe you go and you record them with the hidden camera and they reveal the true motivation, and you put that out on the internet. Even if you are one man, even if you're a person with no audience, even if your audience is 100 people, you still have the power to expose. And that's what my message to you is. It's, oh, I need James O'Keefe to go do this. Well, trust me, I don't sleep, and I probably should. I need to take a day off. But I also would encourage you to try it yourself. Go there in person with a camera. Go there in person with a GoPro. Or go there in person with a hidden camera and have a conversation with them and put pressure on them and say, I'm going to give this to James O'Keefe. That's what you can say. You can say, he is going to record you and put it before the world. That's what you can do. And you know what? Try it. And you'll be amazed at what you might find. And that's all the time I have, ladies and gentlemen. We've been doing this for 2 hours. And we'll be with you next week on The Inside with James O'Keefe. Headline from today: Trump was right, states Trevor Kolodny, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency official in the Department of Homeland Security for chemical security with a security clearance. Kolodny, who declares, quote, I can't vote for Trump, but Trump is right. Biden doesn't care about trade. Trump cares about trade. Rand Paul makes a good point, trying to defund my agency. He says a lot of things that are correct. And stay tuned next week as we take a deeper and farther into the national security state, into the administrative state. They're scared of me. They're scared of you. And please go to OKeefeMediaGroup.com. Donate to us. Become an American Swiper. And we'll see you next week.